Hello. Happy Friday. Good morning, all. But didn't startle anyone. Had a nice run this morning, which is probably important for the discussion of the topic at hand. Let me know how the audio is. Still getting freaking complaints that the audio is not loud enough. Still getting complaints about that. My God. Anyway, thanks for being here. Happy Friday. It's a beautiful day. Glad the weekend's here. It's been a long week. Long meaning that crushing. It's good to push yourself. It's good to feel the burn, right? And I'm glad to be here. And I'm glad you guys are here. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Morning sound is on and great. Thank you, Logos Bear. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Let's get crack-a-lackin', okay? I am not going to be able to walk anyone through why Steve Bannon is QAnon in this video. Number one, I'm just kind of sick of talking about it. Number two, it really doesn't do any good because it's such a dry topic. People want Q to be JFK Jr., or they want Q to be Admiral Rogers or General Flynn or anything but something as boring as the CEO of Trump's campaign, the president of a global international populist movement, someone who's been trained in Hollywood, someone who took over Breitbart right after Andrew died mysteriously young of a heart attack, someone who's dedicated his life to Israel and Zionism, someone who has shown a propensity with his Hillary films to use sensationalism to create spellcraft, to entrance the mind and to lead people into a state where everyone will act the same way. I do not have in this video enough time to explain why Pizzagate is a salacious rumor of itself, and that by me saying that, instantly half of you will run away because you think that I'm trying to say that there's no such thing as pedophilia, or that James Alefantantis, the fake name of the guy that's probably related to a Rothschild, does not diddle children. You think that that's what it means when I say Pizzagate's not real. And so because of that, you have a caloric off-ramp that you can take to say, I don't have to listen to this guy. He says Pizzagate's not real. Fuck that. I'm intense. And I'm passionate. And he's not as intense and as passionate as me because he's claiming Pizzagate is not altogether real. Therefore, he does not have the same passion I do, so I should reject him. And I will look to Liz Crokin. I will look to Q-Posts. I will look to squirters on Twitter to show me the way to find something even more disgusting than pedophilia. What's that? They're ripping people's faces off and then eating them, sitting on top of a 5-gallon bucket in a 6 stories underground beneath a pedophile Disney's tropical island with a submarine port, fired by a Mossad daughter, married to a guy that apparently has an apple-shaped penis, who's been raised by Mossad to diddle kids his whole life. I'd rather go there with a satanic temple, not with this guy that's telling me that's a utility building, you're being lied to, this is a psyop, this is how it works, they create everything and they throw everything on the fire to create a big enough bonfire. That doesn't have enough sexy action for many of us, so we retreat. We decide that since we're in this truth game and we're trying to discern what's real and what's not, by God, it better at least be entertaining, and we have replaced truth with what feels good to hear. And this is how you get Jordan Sather. And I'm not here to pick on Jordan Sather. We feed Jordan Sather. We set the seed out and we wait for someone to come and pick up the standard. Politics has nothing to do with intellect, has nothing to do with wisdom. It has nothing to do with betterment of the people. It has to do with fervor. Can I say the right thing to cast enough fervor to cause a group of people to pick up a torch and hunt a monster. What do I have to do to elicit this kind of reaction? That's politics, and that's government. And I'm telling you, most of you, things that you've already heard, things that you've already understood. But maybe you haven't heard this part. When you live in a system like that, when you live in an inverted system, so first of all, when you live in an inverted system, when someone like me says, hey, this looks like National Sodomy Month, it's like a eugenics program. In an inverted system, those who are participating in the system will come up to you and say, how dare you? How dare you talk bad about Sodomy Pride Month? You must be a sodomist. That's proof one that you live in an inversion. When the people attack you for pointing out what you see, what's there. When you are making other people uncomfortable with the inversion, inversion dictates that they attack you, not the system. This is how truth works. This is why Candace Owens is still being called a national hero who should run for Congress, because she started a social dox site. And that by having a national doxing company before any of the social tracing, of the contact tracing was ever born doesn't matter, because she's still the conservative darling. And we must follow her. This is the religion of Zionism. It is the religion that germ theory exists in the world. That all over the world there are viruses, and these viruses are called incubator babies, weapons of mass destruction, communism, COVID-19, terrorism. All of these things are necessary to light the torch. And truth never is the best medicine for creating an angry mob. Because some asshole is going to come in and show some compassion and say, hey, before we burn down that monster that I hear playing violin and just wants some soup, maybe we should reconsider what we're doing. Truth is not invited to a monster hunt. Truth is not an angry villager. And as we struggle on through our day, trying to understand the system that's happening around us, it gets worse and worse and worse. And as you work hard, burning calories, overlooking all the bullshit, and still just trying to see through as clearly as you can, the best among us, which I am not, the best among us for seeing this truth is, come on guys, 23% accurate? Like you have the capacity to probably see about 23% of the truth as it's pouring out of the conveyor belt every day. That's the best of us. The best among us can probably see 23%, and that's only through a collective effort. In fact, now I'll give it credit. If the best of us can see 23%, if he was combined or she was to combine her forces with other people that see the best of theirs, collectively, we're looking at maybe 33%. That maybe we've got 1/3 of the truth of what's actually happening on the field. You got to keep in mind that these are psyops built on top of psyops, built on top of psyops. And as you're working on tearing down the last psyop, 4 more have sprouted up and are gaining traction. They're gaining life. This is the phenomenon that we've been under for a long time. We've been under this phenomenon so long that it started before you were born. It started before your parents were born. It started before they were born. And so we have been inside the trash compactor on the Death Star, and it's already full of shit. It's already there. And this is not a live stream to say you should have no hope. Actually, we've talked about hope. But this is not a live stream to say that you are helpless in this endeavor. Because this is the system we're in. This is the kiddie pool that we're in. And the sooner you accept that this is where we belong right now, I hear you, man. But just go with me for a sec. For whatever reason, this is where we belong right now. We can stop applying the blame game about who got us here, what we did to deserve this, why is the world so unfair. Maybe if we suck the machine off, it'll be nicer to us. Maybe we should pray for something else. Maybe we should give up and just accept our fate. All those have been taught to you and shown to you as ways of fighting the system. And I would like to suggest to you today that you stop. That you stop fighting the system and you take a deep, deep breath. And I'm not here to tell you it's going to be okay. I'm here to tell you it's been okay for a long ass fucking time. This entire system that I'm about to show you is running on your consent. And I could use this to bitch at you and say, how dare you? Look at how irresponsible you are with your consent. And then y'all probably do that a little bit. But there is solace in this knowledge. There is a oasis that's real. But it's only going to be when you stop trying to process which things are true and which things are false, when they come from the speakers in the trees. And that's the part really that creates this system. And that probably sounds a lot like things that you've already known and you've already heard. But what we've known and what we've heard hasn't been the full truth. It's been about 1/3. And a couple years ago, I said that we would be begging for the New World Order. And when I said that, I didn't mean that in a even a negative way. I mean that in the sense that people will consent to the New World Order and it will come. And it will only come because of how much we consented to it. And when you were surrounded by lies, when you're surrounded by the perils of Pizzagate, when you're surrounded by all the crazy, crazy bullshit stories, truth comes in with no fanfare, with no secret, no lights, no disco, no floats, no parades. It just walks in and it sets its ass down in the chair and says, I'm here. Truth is here. And it doesn't care if you caught it. Truth doesn't care if you pay attention to it, if you acknowledge it, if you admit it. It's not offended. It has a different kind of strength. Psyops care. They get mad when you don't believe them. They fight back, they bite back. They create new psyops to fight off the people that are trying to question the psyop. Truth doesn't do that. It doesn't have that kind of budget behind it. It doesn't have that technology invested in cloaking the world. And so when it comes in, you miss it. We all do. We miss it because it's so quiet. We miss it because it requires a deep breath. And what I'm suggesting to you is this. Lies come when you're listening to the speakers in the trees, and truth comes when you stop. Because when you stop, you can preview the trees. You can notice how they're always set up near bottlenecks where people travel. Incoming sneeze. No idea when it'll come. And you are able to intrinsically learn about the system by the lie itself. I've tried to explain this before. Truth requires mass, requires a space in the world. What I mean by that is that you see truth. It pokes out of itself. Truth is the dress that's been shut in the car door, and the entire world sees it except the driver, right? Truth is the toilet paper stuck to the bottom of your shoe that everyone in the restaurant sees but you. But that you is a collective you, right? It's the zeitgeist of all of us. And it comes in and it bites us in the ass. But it's had a reservation the whole time. It's been heading this way the whole time. And I'd like to show you that truth right now. I'm not going to make you watch all this. Obviously, I can't make you do anything. I'm going to play this video. This was June 3rd. Sorry. This was June 3rd. Probably sunset. Off the coast of New York in front of the Statue of Liberty. On a millionaire's yacht. A luxury yacht. Probably, I guess it doesn't count as international waters because it's close enough. But I'm pretty sure that the New York Harbor has a special classification because of all their stuff. Anyway, it doesn't. Let's watch. This is Steve Bannon.
So read the proclamation. The declaration of the new federal state of China on 4 June.
Wait a minute, it's coming. It's coming.
Mr. Bannon is going to read the English version of the new federal state of China declaration.
He's getting ready. This is Steve Bannon, and he's getting ready
read the proclamation.
To read the proclamation.
The declaration of the new federal state of China on 4 June 2020 in Beijing. This is the preface.
He's not in Beijing.
It is the whistleblowers movement that has brought us together in order to realize the rule of law, democracy, and freedom in the new federal state of China.
Do you see the Statue of Liberty behind him? Please keep in mind that he said it's the whistleblowers that made this happen.
The free Chinese throughout the world and in China have established the Himalaya Supervising Organization. During the past 3 years, Mr. Miles Guo and myself have founded and led the whistleblowers movement that exposed the illegitimacy and the true evil nature of the Chinese Communist Party.
Okay. Did you guys hear that? I'm not going to make you read it, but it's sorry, my blah, blah, blah. I hope you can hear that. Sometimes I play videos before and you can't hear anything. Let me paraphrase. Let me know if you can hear it though, because I want to play 2 more videos. The volume is a little bit down on that. Steve Bannon just announced the new federal state of China. A federal state of China. And he announced it in front of the Statue of Liberty. He didn't announce it in China. He announced it in front of the Statue of Liberty. Now, as this video goes on, he is laying out, he's basically reading you the Constitution. It's not the official, it's the letter saying, here's what the Constitution is going to have in it, is basically what he's reading. And it's exactly like the United States, to a T. There's not one thing different. In fact, he's saying this is modeled off the United States and it's subject to oversight by the United States and all hang on a second, and all what was the exact word? All corroborating regions and parties and other corroborating regional parties. This is not a revolution. It's going to look like a revolution. This is a business. It's time. It's business time. All the concern that you guys have had. Thanks for the super chat, whoever that was. This is going to be a busy one, but thank you. Seriously, thank you. This is all of the things that you've seen that have been happening for years and years. All your concerns about the NWO, all your dismissals of the NWO are now finally apocalypsed. They're showing you what is next. You're looking at the United States of China, Hong Kong, Tibet, Taiwan. These are the states of China now. And they're united, get this, under an electoral college with impeachment, with the capability of impeachment. Oh, that's great, because it's worked so well for us. And includes land reform rights. Dirty humans. Land reform rights, James, what do you mean? It includes protection for natural environments and animal habitats. But it's okay, you can't complain about it. Do you know why? Because it's all based in Tibet. It's all based in the Himalayan mountains. And those guys know what they're doing. So see, it's not even China. The CCP is now the Himalayas. The Himalayan International HSO, Himalayan Supervisory Organization. Supervisory Organization is now in charge of China and all of its other regions. China is not a communist country anymore. The CEO of Trump's election campaign just overthrew China from the back of a yacht in front of the Statue of Liberty, and not a shot was fired, and he did it on the anniversary of Tiananmen Square. A psyop. And all of this is only possible, my friends, this is only possible under a Chinese virus. A Chinese virus. A virus that was started in China because of how corrupt they are, right? Because of how dangerous they are. This all started in China.
Why do you keep calling this the...
Hang on a second. Don't get ahead of me there, buddy. Because of COVID-19, it is being used as the excuse. China was either irresponsible or warlike. They're saying both at the same time. They're squirting for war at the same time. This is what George Webb did. This is why I got mad at Who's Teutonic for fucking pushing this shit. It's because all of this is lies. COVID-19 is a lie. But the fact that COVID came from China is another lie. The fact that it was because of their irresponsible communist regime that caused the entire world to get sick is a freaking lie. The fact that China wants to maintain their communism is a lie. I'm going to show that too. And this is not a revolt. Steve Bannon has not declared a revolt, nor does he need it. This has been in the works for decades. For decades and decades and decades. It's been right underneath you the whole time. G20, Himalayan mountains. See that, guys? I'm pointing to the right there. G20 in 2019. G20, G20. Everything that we're seeing that's happening now has been laid out long before. And I would like for you, if you lack this, the picture, the aperture for this, please go back and see my article where I outlined 14 instances where the presidential seal was present, like it was present, empty, 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 present, where I showed that the POTUS seal was gone. It wasn't like one day. Started on March 22nd, the exact same day as, March 20th, the exact same day when it became necessary for 5G to be instrumental for international security. For national security, sorry. It's international, but the word was national security. That once the entire myth rolled out, this has been part of the process. And I've showed you pictures of Hong Kong in MAGA hats with American flags saying, President Trump, liberate us. And I told you that that's Steve Bannon. That Steve Bannon started a populist movement all across the world. I can't show you all this stuff, all these images again. I just can't, because there's other video to show. And this isn't how I want to spend my essence. I don't want to spend my essence educating, quote, quote, what I know could only be at best 31%, 33% of the entire truth. And that's only if I work with others. Because that's not how we win. That's not how we survive. That's not how we thrive or crush. It's not going to be by episodes like this. But I need you to see this one. Because the whole time, I've been laying out the truth just like the truth comes in. When I pointed that Epstein Island was fake, all I could do was waltz in quietly and say, Epstein Island's fake. And that's when your amazing police say, well, you're a psychopath. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. How dare you question Q? That's when they all start to shoot their arrows at the person who's making it less dramatic. At the person who stood up in the theater and said, hey, that guy's an actor. Because it's a game. Because all of most of us in the truth movement are doing this for fun. And I'm not even, life should be fun. We should be able to do things for fun. There's no qualms there. It's not like when you sign up for Twitter, you enlist, right? It's not like you're enlisting in some army where you're promising to always fight for the truth or what's best. I mean, we have free will here. Candace Owens is going to Candace Owens, right? People are going to do whatever it is they're going to do to better themselves. Blue Jays are going to steal my peanuts. This is natural law. So I'm not even here to bitch about it. I'm here to tell you this is why we're wasting our time trying to discern what's the truth and what's not. We'd be better off by saying it's just all lies. We'd be better off by saying, I don't know if Tiananmen Square was actually real. And I don't know why they would camp out on a yacht in front of the Statue of Liberty when they've been planning this for 6 entire months. Before COVID, they slipped up in this video. She explained, we've been working on this for 6 months. So for 6 months, for 4 months prior to COVID, right? The day COVID started, we decided we need to work on a new constitution. We need to overthrow China. Because that's what you do. And that's how it's being sold. A new federal state of China with an electoral college. It's here to promote an ecosystem of law, media, culture, and finance. Ugh. Using the internet for democracy and to save money. That's what Steve Bannon said. And it's the same germ theory, the CCP virus. And the reason why you've had to suffer for COVID is because America wants to save you. And they can't save you unless you're bleeding. So when you're sleeping, somebody's gotten you in the kidney. So you'll wake up with blood in your bed. And you can say it was China. It was the CCC virus. Bannon actually called it that. Now, after Bannon says it, Trump says it. Because that's how Zionism works. And no, I'm not trying to say that Bannon himself rules Trump. No, I'm trying to say the agenda itself. Trump is following the agenda. He has to. If he wants to stay president, if he wants to stay in favor, if he wants to keep the hands on him in praise, he's going to follow. My dog will will follow me anywhere for turkey. He's not an evil dog. He's just predictable. He'll say what he's told to say because that's how Zionism works.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans in this country. Your own aide, Secretary Azar, says he does not use this term. He says ethnicity does not cause the virus. Why do you keep using this? A lot of people say it's racist.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China.
Here's Steve Bannon.
A trade war. China's been economic war with the West, and they are a not authoritarian, they're a totalitarian mercantilist system. They always talk about this international rules-based order. The Chinese don't play by any rules. They don't have any internal rules. It's a completely totalitarian regime, not the Chinese people, the regime. Okay, what Donald Trump has said, he's the first president, because the elites in our country, just like the elites in Australia said, the rise of China is inexorable. It's the second law of thermodynamics. Do you know what Trump said? I don't think so.
I'd like for you to hear this if you can. Instead of saying the word China, replace the word America right here. Try it, please, if you don't mind.
And Australia sees this. Australia is at the front lines of this. We're in an economic war.
With America.
With China. Okay? Not a trade war. China's
America
been economic war with the West, and they are a not authoritarian, they're a totalitarian mercantilist system. They always talk about this
We're controlled by 5 corporations, guys. 5. International corporations. But he's talking about China right now.
National rules-based order. The Chinese don't play by any rules. They don't have any internal rules. It's a completely
The American government doesn't play by its own rules.
The Chinese don't play by any rules. They don't have any internal rules. It's
Talking
a
about
completely
America.
totalitarian regime, not the Chinese people, the regime. Okay, what Donald Trump has said, he's the first president.
Antifa, COVID, China's our greatest threat. Remember Trump used to say that. Bannon's always said that. All of this has been set up for a long time. And if you watch iPet Goat, you see Notre Dame being destroyed. The roof of Notre Dame falling, crashing, letting the Luna moon into ISIS. And then you look at the Olympic ritual in 2012, same year as iPet Goat. You watch the Olympic ceremony where they're unveiling COVID, showing you the entire thing happening. They're showing you the ritual twice. Same year as Make America Great was trademarked by Trump. The same year that I believe Steve Bannon started tweeting for Trump and saying crazy, outrageous things. Like Barry Soetoro was not born in America. Even if that's true, my point is that he started being salaciously political, exactly like Pizzagate, exactly like the hit films that Bannon made against Clinton. I get you hate Clinton, so you're like, well, hey, I don't mind new hit films. I get that. But that's how the squirting begins. You fall into this George Webb who's Teutonic thing where you start to think, no, it's okay to look at China. It's okay to follow this lead. We should spend 4 months looking at how China was behind this whole virus. And they weren't. And at best, you're going to do is gather 33% of the truth. You have to use your intuition. And you can simulate this entire thing. This is not a genius, a skill. This requires you to stop the noise coming in from your ears, taking a deep breath and asking yourself, what the fuck's happening? And just look around. The truth will start falling out of the trees because you're looking for it. You're not looking for salaciousness. You're not looking for emotion. You're not looking for hits. You're not looking for what would Jordan Sather say to get the most attention right now. You're looking for truth. Even if it means the satanic temple that you thought was the key to all your problems in the world was fake, you still want truth. And you're going to taste truth because it's not going to have this sugar high with it. It's going to be like a Brussels sprout. It's going to have this sustaining, nutritional flavor to it that lasts for hours, days, however long. It's like a good smoothie, or like a good run this morning. The flavor itself is not why you're doing it, right? It's the effects it has on your body. But the truth loves to squirt. This video was put up by QAnon. QAnon posted this video as a, hey, look how much we're winning. Look how much we're winning. And you're about to see a former CIA officer, not a guess, read the screen, tell you, a Democratic, claiming to be a Democrat, telling you, oh, I want martial law so bad I can squirt. Listen. Not an exaggeration. Listen to this fucker. Wait a minute. You can't if I didn't do this.
71% of us want the National Guard in our panicking. 71% of us want the National Guard in our cities tonight. 58% of us want the military in our cities tonight. All right, the people are panicking. The country is on fire. Now, who is attacking us? Mr. Esper should know this. Right. It's Antifa, Department of Justice, NYPD. Others are saying this very clearly. These are people, by the way, that we faced back in the 1960s and 70s and early 80s. These were people who were far leftist, Marx, Lenin, folks who embraced that ideology.
It turns out those kids in Antifa were actually around in the 80s. So those are old fuckers, man. I didn't realize that. I always thought they were younger. But anyway.
They allied with Black Panther movements, and it took many years to finally put it down. Very dangerous. And now this same group, who is allied, by the way, with the Democratic Socialists, we're talking to Bernie Bros and Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, they're back. They're back with firebombs. They're back with bricks in our suburbs and our downtowns. That's something that Mr. Esper clearly doesn't understand. And then finally, we have a media that is feeding this flame, this horrific fire, this seditiousness. You have brought this up many times, including tonight. Let me read a headline from Slate magazine. Just yesterday, it said the following.
Look at Cucker's eyes. He's just so intense, man. You're right. He ends up agreeing with him, by the way. I just can't stand this on my channel. I don't want to play it that much. He agrees with him, right? He agrees with him about this. Both sides, Democrats, Republicans, the media, and Trump are all saying this. Boom. The United States of America will be designating Antifa as a terrorist organization. And he's squirting for it. This guy's squirting for it. He wants it so bad. So does Tucker. They agree on this. And if you look out on the web, people love this idea. They're like, yes, finally. And every bit of this was in place in 2012, which should tell you something that doesn't sound good, that requires a deep breath to realize Trump wasn't elected. If they've had COVID ready to go since 2012, Trump was not elected. He was selected. Which means my vote is not what I think it is. Which means all the calories that I'm burning trying to track the truth, of which I'm only going to get 33% if I work optimally with everyone around me, really is kind of a waste of time. It's no different than us trying to track Walmart to see when their next blue light special, sorry, that's Kmart, when Walmart's going to have their next sale, and thinking that we have an influence over that. Thinking that if we just keep putting things in their suggestion box, that they're going to do that. And that's why when you understand what voting really is, it's a tally for the likelihood that people might revolt. That's what voting is. Voting tells these people, the ranchers, that are running the system, not you, they're running the system, pay attention. The people running the system, not you, use voting to determine the likelihood that there might be a revolt. As long as people are voting, the electrical field has them subdued. As long as there are butt-munching sodomites from the CIA garnishing 369,000.1K views, they're good. The system is effective. And it gives enough people the training wheels they want to insist that government's real. And so to vote yes or no, or red or blue, is really just to vote. To say, yeah, I'm believing it. I'm invested in it. I'm worshiping this system with my time and attention. And it's the worst thing we could do. What I'm doing right now is the worst thing I could do to help you, is by talking about this. When Donald Trump said 2 days ago, and the best is yet to come, he was talking about America's rectum. The New World Order is being crammed down our throat. It has already happened. And it's giving you a brilliant insight into how countries are taken over. What I mean by that is that World War II, World War I, all around that area, as you study history, you might think that, oh, well, then they came in and then there was this big fanfare, all these bullets and smoke, and everyone knew the country had been taken over. And frankly, that's not how it happens. The people are always the last to know. The historians know first. Because 15 years later, they notice. And they're like, well, shit. Did you guys know that the United States of CCCP is a place now, too? Did you know this? Did you know that? And there's denial? No, that's not true. That's bullshit. It didn't happen. And then finally, you get enough away from history where someone can look back on it and go, yeah, that is what happened. But no one has any idea what happened on the ground while it happened, because you're only able to see 33% of it, and that's only if you're optimal, and that's only if you have enough retinal dopamine to allow you to even see what's truly happening. When I reported on the POTUS seal, I got a lot of, that's just a coincidence. You know, it's just no big deal. Why are you thinking that's a big deal? But QAnon has been talking about Q+ for years. International populist movements implemented to look like a political uprising by the people, a contingency of Antifa, a CCCP virus, complete devastation of all economic life, complete lockdown of congregation, of discussing this with other people, of community itself has been completely obliterated. Everyone's been put in a mask or on their knees. Everyone's afraid of each other. They're afraid of their own sickness. And you unroll the New World Order. And all you need is a yacht. All you need is a yacht and a press release. Now, Steve, the guy with Steve is Miles Guo. He is a populist leader. He's a populist leader, no different than Antifa. In fact, I would actually paint him in a better light. He would be our what? He would be our Candace Owens. That's what he would be. And just like we're following Candace, even though she wanted to start a doxing site, even though she wanted to do that, people who claim to be hip and know about everything will push her agenda, despite the fact that she was actually trying to start a company to dox everyone, to label everyone a racist and give them a social credit score. You have the same thing happening in China. They're only going to see 33% of it. And so this Miles Guo guy is here with Steve. And in the end, he ends up sealing the contract in blood. I'm not kidding. Here he is. He goes back here. I gotta find this. Here it is. He's reading his version.
I'm going to commemorate this moment with blood. I want to use blood.
Look at Steve Bannon's face.
Show the world our resolve. Today I'm using, I bite my fingers so open to have to use blood to testify in front of everyone in the world that we will restore rule of law, freedom of religion, and justice to China.
Guys, if you can't tell, Steve Bannon is a Zionist cuck, and he will do business with anybody. He will align with anybody. He doesn't give a shit about morality. He is the Highlander. He is the political Highlander, and he's here to win. That's all that matters to him. That's why he'll lie. That's why he'll sensationalize. And that's why he'll get picked. That's why he'll run Trump's campaign. That's why he'll be called Sloppy Steve and ceremonially kicked out the day after he earns full benefits as a White House staffer. He's called Sloppy Steve, and he goes and posts the very first post of Hillary Clinton will be arrested tomorrow morning, 8 weeks later. And that's why he pushed with Q, Iran, fight, fight, fight. That's why he and Trump have both said this is a Chinese virus before the virus was even there. Before it was even there. It's this is kabuki theater. All of it. And it happened back in 89. All this stuff started in 89. Guys, I grew up, they told me that there was this rumor that everything was cheaper in China. And that because everything was cheaper in China, we buy everything from China. And that's why. And if we could just stop buying everything cheaper from China, we would have our jobs back. But we can't. We just can't. Because for some miraculously magical reason, the entire process of shipping something from China over to America, despite 2 rounds of tariffs, is still somehow cheaper. And we all bought it. We're like, oh, it's because it's cheap Chinese. In fact, it's so hard to find someone that cannot use the word cheap and Chinese together when they describe things. It's been taught to you like conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory. Cheap Chinese. And what was happening in 89 was the same thing that happened between France and England. How about, instead of us convincing the populace that we should have a union, how about we seal it with genitals? I'll send my kid over, and you send your kid over, and they'll rub genitals together and be married, and then we'll have a union. And then we'll tell the people later. And that's what's been happening with China and America since Tiananmen Square. This has been in place for a long ass frickin' time. And it is not more expensive to make or build things in America. That was China buying America and America buying China. That's China, bring your schlong in and rub it over our genitals, and vice versa. That's how you marry 2 countries together. You make them economically dependent on the other. China owns all our debt. Why? Because China owns us as a country. Not you, but the system. You are not the system. Even though I'm telling you, and I might forget to say that over and over again, you are not the system. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the Babylon system around you the one that you will never ever be able to fully see the truth from. Doesn't matter how freaking stellar you are. There's too many tentacles, that's all. The price of yarn in China is more expensive than most other countries. The truth is that it's always been more expensive to ship things from China over here. Do you know why? Because it requires a big ass fucking boat. Requires a giant system of embargoes. Requires a huge metal container. Requires international laws, treaties, lawsuits. Requires ports. It requires shipping containers. It requires distribution. It requires paperwork. Requires taxation. Requires putting things in boxes filled with peanuts and tacking it with tape. It is not cheaper. It has never been cheaper. You guys took the fall by saying it's our fault because we're too greedy because we have to have cheap shit from China. And it's never been the case. Since World War II, we have been the bully of the New World Order. We have been the golem. You know what a golem is? Kabbalistically, someone takes dung and clay and shapes it into a form and puts words on its head. USA. They carve it into its head and they breathe life into it. They give it propaganda into its ears, and the golem awakens and it starts stomping. 1.3 years. Country every 1.3 years. Right? You keep stomping, stomping, and stomping. It doesn't stop because it's a golem. It doesn't have a soul. The soul belongs to creditors. That's who owns the soul of the system. And it's been that way before you were born. You're just seeing it unroll. And this is probably the biggest news we ever hear about it. And my little channel of 11,000 viewers, thank you, by the way, is 11,000 subscribers. I'm not trying to say I have 11,000 people watching this right now. This is probably about the biggest poof you'll see. This is about the extent that you'll see truth expressed about what's happening. Because what's out there in the system has nothing to do with truth. Nothing at all. Because the system out there has failed us. They've failed us. Our leaders have failed us. Everyone is wearing a mask. These aren't countries. Countries aren't what we think they are. I've been saying that over and over again. And every one of them's wearing a mask. Because they obey. They all obey. And now I want to talk about God. Because I want to tell you that the propaganda that steers this golem is the voice of Babylon. Babel. Babel is Babylon, the god of tongue. Sorry, that was gross. The god of tongue is Babel. And he has licked your ears. He has licked everyone's ears. And people all over the world love that tongue. And white people will lay on their bellies in broad daylight with a mask over their head and put their hands behind their back for Babel, for lies. And people will stand up in China and everyone will wear a mask and demand it as a constitutional right to wear the mask of Baal Babel. And riots will break out because Baal Babel said black people matter. And no one else thinks they do. And because Baal Babel said so, we will shame ourselves. We will cover our own shame while we scream for injustice. And we will immerse ourselves in inversion and mute ourselves in the name of freedom. And we will lick virtue from the taint of Baal Babel and beg him for forgiveness for our whiteness. We will beg for forgiveness from our patriarchy, from our genitals, and from our ignorance. And all of this because Baal Babel told us to. The speakers in the trees. We love the speakers in the trees. We love our Baal Babel. Babylon. And this is the Epic of Gilgamesh. This is the Epic of Nimrod. This is the Epic of David. This is the Epic of Napoleon. This is the Epic of Genghis Khan. This is the Epic of the Bolsheviks. This is the Epic of the Nazis. This is the Epic of Zionists. This is the Epic of the CCP. It's all the same God, and he's telling you all lies. And we can only discern at best 33% of it. But we all do the same thing. We all listen. And what gets the most views will always be what did Baal Babel say yesterday? That's what we respond to the most. And now even the ones that swore to protect us have taken a knee for Baal Babel. Propaganda has encouraged them to take a knee for Baal Babel. All over the world. Take a knee, put a mask on, say you're sorry. Don't protect and serve. Just be a cuck for Baal Babel. That's all it takes. Just listen to the propaganda and feel good about yourself. Take solace knowing that you took a knee for Baal Babel. And Baal Babel transforms or circumvents, sorry, I can't think of the word right now, any race, any creed, any color. It's a religion. It's a belief in, it's deeper than a religion, because religion we understand as an institution. It's an internal institution. This is all it took, guys. It was one story. That's all it took. As long as every speaker in the tree said the same thing, every person wandering through the forest will repeat it. It's a lot of pictures, isn't it? Keeps going. There's so many. God Baal Babel says something, and the sheep repeat it. And that God's been growing stronger and stronger every year. Right? We keep electing him more and more every year. And we're surrounded by people that want him so bad that they're willing to get mad at you for not believing it. This is the footprints of Babel. China in 1949, well, that's convenient. Albania, East Germany, Iran, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Syria, Egypt, Indonesia, British Guiana, Iraq, North Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Ecuador, Congo, France, Brazil, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Bolivia, Indonesia, Ghana, Chile, Greece, Costa Rica, Bolivia, Australia, Angola, Zaire, Portugal, Jamaica, Seychelles, Grenada, South Yemen, Suriname, Fiji, Libya, Nicaragua, Panama, Bulgaria, Albania, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, Yugoslavia, Ecuador, Afghanistan, Venezuela, Iraq, Haiti, Somalia, Honduras, Libya, Syria, Ukraine, Venezuela, and China. The United States of China and the United States of America are now on equal footing. This is how it's described by Steve Bannon. They're on equal footing, and they're underneath relevant international legal institutions. You know, tell me that's not the New World Order? Because it is. Now, that's the system. And then there's you. And the good news is, there's so many cucks out there that are dying to be put in the machine's mouth that you are going to be fine. It's true. If you're listening to me, you're going to be fine. It's not because you're listening to me. Sorry, that sounds wrong. But if you've gotten an aperture to where you find me entertaining, you're going to be fine. Because there's so many others that want to be in that mouth. They want to serve Babel. They are too afraid of their own discernment. You are going to be fine. But you're going to have to stop listening to these speakers in the trees, and more importantly, see the apocalypse as it truly is. See what voting truly is. It's a measure of how willing you are to revolt. And see what countries truly are. It's closer to say Donald Trump is a maitre d', and there's a restaurant, and there's a section that the waiters have, a seating chart called America. And Donald Trump came to work and was given that section. And he keeps all the tips. And he's like Candace Owens. He's just going to respond to where the tips are. That's what happens when you serve this system. That's what happens when you take a knee to Babel. You agree that the truth is never going to work here. You agree to a different version of what's real. And on June 4th, 2020, the New World Order announced itself. It did that with 3 countries: China, Great Britain, and America. And as a show of good faith, America took their seal down to show Great Britain and America and China that yes, we're serious. And in tandem, Buckingham Palace took their seal down to show the same thing. And I can't tell you what China did internally because we only see 1/3 of what happens. And so I can't tell you. Oh, and the White Orchid Group, they had a ceremony where they took the ribbon off the sacred phallus. You know, whatever it is over there. It's the United States of China now. And we're the United States of America. And both these systems are underneath a globalist system that's been there the whole time. It's been built into our corporations, the same corporations that were causing the trade to occur between China and America, where all of our debt was being bought. In order for that to happen, America had to leverage itself in debt. We had to be debtors to other people to make all this happen. To create the NWO, we had to liquidate, and America had to become financially vulnerable so that everyone will get on board. And that's how you do it. That's how you would do it. This is how you would forge an alliance. The same way you would forge an alliance on the ISS. The same way you would forge an alliance behind the lies of nuclear weapons. The same way you would forge an alliance by saying, World War II started because Archduke Ferdinand was killed. You create your cover story. You pretend who's going to be the bad guy, who's going to be the good guy, and you go out there and you give them a show. You give them the best show you can possibly imagine. And if you do it right, the fans will be squirting for you to come take their rights away. They will be begging for that to happen. And it's working because they're good at what they do. This is going to require a different kind of magic from us. It's going to require this consent magic. It's going to require this idea of understanding fully and firmly what consent is, and stop pretending that what we're seeing from the speakers in the trees is real. Because the more of you understand it's not real, the more of us will stop voting. And the more of us that stop voting, the more they will see, well, they're more likely to revolt now. The more we're likely we are to revolt, the more sanctions they will give, the system will yield. And I think we have a dual method approach here. One, stop consenting ourselves. Don't worry about anyone else, just stop consenting ourselves. Stop consenting, make it expensive for anyone else to consent in your presence. That's number one. Number two, I almost want to pull number two, because we're not doing number one. We're not even doing number one. We're trying, but it's hard. And we get lost by thinking, well, the way to fix this is to fix others, when we have to just fix ourselves. And you're going to be consenting by participating in Baal Babel's world, his roads, his stores, his box stores, his internet. This is the apocalypse. It's there's things that you have to look at and go, well, holy shit, that's not what I thought it was. It's actually this. Let's just focus on our own consent. Let's take deep breath and use it not to listen to Babel's speakers, but to just see what's actually going on, what is actually happening. And that will guide you, and your own vibration will do enough to change the world around you. It's already happening. This is still the best apocalypse ever. I think it's good news. I love that we can see the NWO right now, because I've been saying this for years. This is coming. You will beg for the New World Order, and we will. We will praise this in our present time. When I say we, I'm talking about the collective we, because so many of us are sucking on Baal Babel's cock. This is how it works. We are worshiping this system, the collective we. We are surrounded by people that worship the system and will call you cruel for not doing it. Focus on your consent. Focus on your ego. Focus on how bad it is to see this. Ego wouldn't do this. That guy would. This is different. This requires a lack of ego. This picture right here, that requires a lack. It's all from the heart. Your heartbeat. All of it's right there. Your belief, everything. All your fibers right there. I'd like you to watch this. I think it's important. I'm going to try and be quiet, because I'd rather you just see it for yourself and understand what this is. Notre Dame. Sorry. Notre Dame. Tiananmen Square. China Dragon. Wake up. Wake up. It'll just get worse. Pineal gland. Behind the mask. Better wake up. Better wake up. Penis and a god. The crone. The Whore of Babylon's magic doesn't work here anymore. Serpents. Kundalini. The broken man. The resurrection. Solar plexus. The zeitgeist running. An empty mind is ready. Coronavirus mask. Frozen zeitgeist. Wake up! You have to wake up. Let's roll. It's time to crush. Watch behind him. The corona. If the purpose of all this was to enslave you, you'd be in chains. No one can plan this stuff 20 years out, but somehow lack the ability to put you in chains. Earth Dojo is an amazing place, and the only way out is compassion. And you're damn right it's hard. Fuck, man. You can't just jump in the adult pool. There are people who have placed baby Ruths in the kiddie pool with us for the sole purpose of convincing us that we've been drinking piss this whole time. And half of us are calling the Baby Ruth people evil for doing that. And that truth is never going to be broadcast on TV. It's only going to come with a deep breath and really looking at what's going on around us. Building 7 was a baby Ruth. Challenger astronauts were a baby Ruth. Most of the school shootings were baby Ruths. We have to wake up now. Just like Jesus in the boat, what did it take to wake him up? Complete destruction. It's the only way he would wake up. That's why this is the best apocalypse ever, because the system already fell. The system already fell a long time ago. The only thing that's still standing is our belief that it's still there. And as long as we hold off on that belief, we miss the ability to tend this garden ourselves and do with the land what we want to do. It's going to be an awesome summer. It's go time. All of you were brought here to be here in this time. And it's go time. Thank you for joining me today. Thanks for all the super